Calling this meeting to order. Library trustees, April 23rd. We have a quorum. Everybody see the minutes from last month? Any changes? Hearing none. Entertain a motion to accept the minutes? Is that the terminology?
Yep.
Oh, a second.
So moved?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda. Treasurer's report. Oh, look.
So I made the packet different this time and just made it like we're just going straight through the agenda and experimenting with new formats for treasurer and circulation reports. So if you like it, then let me know. Our personnel appropriation, we have $36,303.04 remaining of our annual budget. That's more than sufficient to see us through the end of the fiscal year. Operations is a bit of a different story. I made a mistake because before the override was passed, the library was funded at $2,701, and that was supposed to be enough to keep the boiler running, to keep the pipes from freezing and the building exploding or whatever. Once the override passed, the library was actually funded at that amount. In addition to what the override was for. So I've been working from a $65,000 something budget. At the fall town meeting, we transferred the $2,701 back, since that was really meant to be kind of the backstop in case the library got defunded. But I didn't put that in my spreadsheets right. I attached it to an overarching municipal appropriations account rather than an operations account, which is nestled under it. So I didn't catch that, and since Jean and I reconcile expenses and revenues and not actual total account balances, this didn't really rear its ugly head until, there you go, until last week, whenever she called me and said that I had overspent on a voucher. So what we had to do is we had to go back one voucher, take out some big expenses, which I'm requesting to be paid for out of grants. And to make sure that we keep enough money in the operational account to see us through the end of the year on utilities and whatnot. So because of that miscalculation, we have $2,130.25 remaining in our appropriations account. And I'm sorry, but we'll that's an item later in the agenda. As far as the private accounts go, I've just put them all down there with what we've taken in, what we've spent, and the balance. By and large, we're up from where we were at the beginning of the year because we've taken in more in grants than we've spent.
So this, I'm sorry to talk over you, but the grant number, you said you're proposing to take it out of grant, so the number here is without taking it out of that, correct? That's like what the grants are now?
These are the balances as of right now.
Okay.
Including what Barbara's signing.
Okay. So we'd subtract 2,700 from the grant balance. Is that correct? For what you're proposing?
I actually want to subtract more from it.
Okay.
That's
So
we're going to talk about it in new business in 2019 budget.
Just wait for new business.
is the revolving all appropriated at, it was appropriated at town meeting? Mm-hmm. So we could spend $1,309 or...
Well, only $2,500 was appropriated.
So you have $600 left in there?
No, since I've spent $2,417.
Yeah.
I have less than $100 left to spend out of the revolving account.
$2,500. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the revolving account has to be appropriated at town meeting every year, and last year it was appropriated at $2,500. So
This is our last meeting.
We can't spend more than that out of it every year.
I'm just feeling this is our last meeting too before the.
Mm-hmm.
I forget if that's the annual or the whatever that big public meeting is.
The annual town meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't I didn't print out, because I want to get it in the mail, the warrants. So is it 2,500 again this year? Well,
It is.
that it's being appropriated?
But we don't actually have 2,500 to appropriate, so.
So can you do that?
As far as I know, I mean, we can't spend it if it's not there, so I didn't want to change the language in the warrant this year, only to change it back next year if we take in more in fines and overdues and whatnot.
Okay.
Let's go.
Other questions on treasurer's report? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to director's report.
Director's reports. So flipping the page over, compared to last year, circulation is up significantly, especially digitally. Our Overdrive and Canopy digital loans are up, from 371 to 952. We've had a huge jump in digital loans, and a lot of that is obviously because, I've spent money in Overdrive. But we also, Overdrive has enabled a cost per circ model, which is similar to how Canopy works in that it's pay per use. So instead of paying $90 for an audiobook license, there's an option to pay, $250 every time someone uses it, up to a certain amount. So we can set a budget limiter on that, and it nets us a lot more circs than buying the licenses individually does. So I'm hoping to kind of move forward with that and move more into it to increase the amount of materials that people have access to do without spending, lots of money on licenses that, are really narrow, targeted, and specific. Let's see, we also sent far fewer items out to other libraries to fill holds, and we borrowed a lot more. The network transfers, that's the interlibrary loans and the holds. Last year, we only took in 530, but we loaned 930 items out to other libraries, whereas this year we transferred in 736 and we only transferred out 750. I think the transfer in just translates to more use. Also, we have weeded our collections, and there's if someone places a hold on something and it doesn't come from our collection, they still get it and they're happy, then that's good. It's good for us because we don't have to pay. We don't have to, we don't have to pay for the shelving. We don't have to pay for, the item record in CW Mars, which is part of our assessment. Historically, Douglas has been a huge net lender. And that we're sending out lots of items, but we're not actually taking in a lot. And I do like to see that trend reversed, where we're taking in more than we're sending out, because that's how the library should work. I mean, we have huge repository libraries like Worcester and Springfield and Millbury. The satellite libraries should be the ones that are borrowing from their collections, not vice versa. And also, I changed the policy on our, or the procedure, they call them policies in Evergreen, for new materials, because historically, whenever we catalog a book, it's reserved specifically for Douglas patrons for 2 weeks, and I've changed that to 6 weeks.
And can you see that? Can you track it?
Can I track how?
Because you're saying that's what you attribute the change to.
I'm just assuming. I'm making assumptions. But I think that probably does make a big difference in the fact that we didn't loan as much, because not as much was available to be loaned. Because as long as the holds protections are on for longer, then the holds queues in Douglas will be met faster for our items, and then they can go out. And God forbid someone actually comes into the library and finds a new bestseller actually on the shelf instead of checked out. And I'm hoping next fiscal year to shift into getting more copies with longer holds protections, so that might actually happen sometimes. You can come in and actually find the new James Patterson on the shelf instead of, having to wait for it.
So isn't it automatic that Douglas, it reverts to Douglas residents first? That's the way it used to be.
Only for the holds protection period. After that, it's an item in CW Mars is an item in CW Mars, and it doesn't matter who it belongs to. The holds is just first come, first serve.
Oh, well, gee, they switched that around then.
But if somebody is requesting a book that's popular and they're not from Douglas, it'll still just sit there for the 6 weeks, even if no one from Douglas has taken it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, is that typical of all the other libraries in CW Mars?
It varies. Everyone is all over the board. Historically, we've done DVDs for 6 weeks. We've done audio for 4 weeks, and we've done books for 2 weeks. But, I was like, why aren't we doing books for 2 weeks? Because that's what people are waiting on longer. Because, you check out a book, you have it for 2 weeks. You may renew it. You may have it for a month, whereas DVDs typically jump off the shelf and come back in 2 days. So it varies between libraries, but more libraries are kind of trying to hold on to that. And some libraries have, special non-circulating collections where they put their new stuff. I know a lot of the libraries, who do the McNaughton books or the book leasing, have to put them in something like that because those aren't supposed to go out into a network. They're supposed to stay with the library that loaned them. We haven't done that with anything. We don't have like a specifically new collection. We've always just relied on these age-based hold protections to make sure that Douglas patrons get first dibs on our materials for a time before we, share them.
That's like a good thing.
So you're doing that with 6 weeks for everything?
6 weeks on everything, yep, is what I've changed it to. And we can manually change that if we're putting in something that's like, a donation or something, an older item. If I've bought a book for a specific patron who I know, it's not going to be flying off the shelves and go into massive holds, then I can open up it immediately and share it. But it gives us a bit more control for longer over our stuff.
Right.
But if this continues over the next few months, then that's probably the reason, right?
Probably, and also we're just, we're seeing changes in library use, due to the override and, outreach and just the way, the community is growing and evolving and changing. Library use is also changing quite a bit. The large print is dead because, I'm sorry?
That's why I can never get my large print books.
Well, I led enough programs at the senior center teaching, the seniors how to use, their iPads and their e-readers.
Wow.
And they don't,
they're using it for.
they don't come in for large print anymore. They
Yeah.
do it electronically because with
that's
that, you
good.
can make it whatever size you want.
Right.
Audiobooks are also dead.
Not with me, not with
Not with
me.
you. We can bring them in on hold because the big repository libraries still buy them. But everyone's going to the digital now,
Right.
so that they can listen to it via Bluetooth speakers or whatever,
Right.
or iPhones.
Right.
I'm always listening to an audiobook. Listening to Annihilation right now and City of Ember, and I've got like 2 going. But that use is changing.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Let's see, we had 25 programs in March with a total attendance of 202 people. Our door counter recorded 4,835. Meal Planning 101 is next Tuesday at 6:30.
And who's sponsoring that?
I want to look at
The Friends, I
All
think.
right, well, you better tell me these things so I can bring you money. And how much is that? Because I don't want the account.
It's not much. I think it's less than $100. I'll send you an email
This one
tomorrow.
we need signups for, right? I want to sign up for that one.
Meal Planning 101, 5-year plan, bylaws, friends.
And, okay, so the next thing is the yoga.
Email Ellie about money. Tell your friends about yoga. We need some more people in that. That's also sponsored by the Friends. It happens every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. I'm no longer requiring sign-ups because we can accommodate 14 people. We have yet to have 14 people, so I think it's safe to make it a drop-in where you can just come.
Okay.
So come to yoga at 7. Betsy Youngsma is doing quilting as well as knitting on Tuesday nights in the loft at the library at 6 o'clock. I would advise joining her Facebook group to anyone who actually comes to that on a regular basis, though, because they make plans and they do different things. They all talk online.
So
and
there's a
they all
separate
work for me.
Facebook group?
There's a separate Facebook
Okay.
group for
All right.
Betsy's knitting group.
Okay.
And she's always posting patterns and
Yeah.
pictures and things.
Okay.
A lot of book clubs coming up. Senior Center Book Club is tomorrow morning. We're doing Life of Pi. The Book Bunch is Thursday night. They're reading Bringing Me Back. The Greatest Book Club Ever is May 9th. They're reading The Haunting of Hill House. The Young Readers is also on May 9th, reading The Girl Who Drank the Moon. And the Intrepid Readers is May 14th, and they are reading Prairie Fires, which I am actually reading this time.
I started listening to it today. I'm not.
That's what
I'm
about
not
Laura
really
Ingalls
into it.
Wilder?
Yeah.
It is,
I
yeah.
read that. That was
It's
very
the-
good.
It's a
Oh, was that
biography
good?
of
Yeah.
Laura Ingalls Wilder.
Right.
I'm just
Who is a
into the
controversial
Indian
figure in our
fighting
household right now because we're actually reading the Little House on the Prairie books. And, you know, it's like, all right,
It's
this
like,
is
yeah.
all right, okay. Spring story times are ongoing until May 29th, so bring your kids to the library on Mondays at 1, Tuesdays at 6, Wednesdays at 10 for Deb's story times.
And does that take registration as well?
It takes registration, but if you show up, we'll accommodate you. I'll make her accommodate you. Then that's the end of my director's report.
All right.
I did run into somebody, today's Tuesday, yesterday, who was interested in the yoga class. And I told her, well, you have to call up and reserve. And she was thinking that her husband might like to come too. And I said, that would be great, you know. It's good for golf if you like to do that, because that's what she was concerned with.
Is it an hour long, or is it?
It's an hour, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's an hour.
More, yeah, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
45 minutes to an hour, because y'all have to be out by 8.
Right.
And you've done it, and
Yeah.
and that's what she said, is it good? And I said, yeah, I think I've heard that it is
Yeah.
good, so.
Yeah, I would like to do it. It's never the right night.
Yeah, everyone, I've gotten quite a few is like, why don't you do it on Tuesday night? Tuesday is such a better night. I'm like, we already have
Tuesday, there's a million
so
things.
much going on Tuesday. We
Should be at
cannot
the
do any more on
selectmen's
Tuesday.
meeting, Everything.
Thursday's gotten pretty full too.
Scrabble night for me, Thursday.
All right, building projects. So we have a whole chart here.
Yeah, this is a chart just for your reference. I talked to the Massachusetts Office on Disabilities about the grant that we've been talking about. And they gave me some valuable information. They typically only award one applicant the full $250,000 amount, and then they reward various smaller amounts. This is a table of what they funded last year, and then if you look at the table that they funded the year before that, it's kind of the same distribution of one big project, you know, a handful of, you know, moderately funded projects, and then just a bunch of smaller stuff. They are getting more money every year. Because this next year will just be the third fiscal year of their actual, you know, grant rounds. Before that, it was kind of an ad hoc thing. To strengthen our application, the more in-depth and the farther along in our plans we are, the better. So, I mean, if we're at architectural drawings, we're at architectural drawings. If we have, you know, project building plans, then that's even better. If we've actually already gone out to bid for those and we have a bid for it, that's even better. And we know exactly how much we can apply for. We also, they will not reward you any money lower than your ask. So we can't phrase it in terms of, you know, this amount or whatever you're willing to give. So if we apply for a $250,000 grant, we're only going to be eligible for a $250,000 grant. So the lower we can get the ask, the more likely it will get approved, because they don't do partial funding,
Okay.
Well, this is.
which is kind of painful.
Yeah. So
I'm
what
just
was-
looking at the names. I'm not sure which region Boxford is in, but Hudson, Bolton, and Sterling. Those are central Massachusetts. And all the rest are everywhere else. And so they don't really concentrate on they just concentrate on who applies. And
They concentrate on who applies, and they concentrate on the strength of the application, which is why, you know, And, looking at this chart and looking at the other chart for the previous fiscal year, it makes me see red a little bit because, the communities that are getting these grants are the communities that
Have bigger
have
staffs, yeah.
huge staffs and have professional grant writers and don't need the grants to begin with. But,
Sterling
money
is-
begets money, so
Sterling is sort of a surprise there, I think. But,
Does it
85,000.
have to be used in this year?
whatever they award has to be used the following fiscal year. So if they reward
Can't
us.
add up years to get what we need.
Nope, it has to be used. And has to be used rather quickly, too. So, because if your project's not done within that fiscal year, then you're not eligible for it anymore. And you won't be rewarded the grant until, halfway through the fiscal year. So it's one of those things you kind of have to have your ducks in a row and ready to move on.
And this is due when? The fall?
The fall is when the applications are. So if before the fall, we have, building plans drawn up, and we know exactly how much they would cost, and we have, a contractor ready to do the construction if it's funded, then we would have the best opportunity of getting it funded. And the fact that we have applied in the past does strengthen our application as well. I talked to Matt, and the next step in any process we do is to coordinate with Bill and get on a BFCC agenda, because they will want to advise and hold our hands through the entire process, because this is what they do, it's what they're for.
What's BFCC?
The Building and Facilities Construction Committee.
Okay.
Best Friends Forever Committee.
Best Friends Forever Committee.
Just, they didn't give you any idea about how likely, like how many do they refuse? Do they only end up taking 10% of the proposals? Did they give you anything like that?
They didn't give me that.
Okay.
And
But
what's
some of
the
these are
amount that we
planning-
asked for last year?
No, we didn't last year.
I skipped this past year because we were in flux
oh,
with,
right.
what we wanted and whether we wanted to tear a hole in the
Right.
floor or not.
Okay.
We didn't have a good, solid application. But the previous 2 years I had.
Were they planning or
been that
projects last time? And this- and what
Project
would-
grants.
And that would be this time too.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot, planning seems to be about half and half.
Yeah, the planning grants are a different animal. They are for creating a plan to become more accessible. Douglas actually already has an accessibility plan on the website. It was done a while back. And, I actually have to get the person who's responsible for that to sign off on the grant before we can do it.
Okay.
But I don't want, I should call again and ask them if, I don't know, depending on where we are in fundraising and what we're willing to spend moving up to the fall before the actual grant application, then maybe we could get money for the getting plans and things drawn up and then apply. But I don't know if applying for a planning grant one year would decrease the opportunity of
If you
getting a
look
project
here,
grant the
Canton-
following year.
Canton has one of each. They have a planning approved and a project approved in the same grant cycle.
I would think the opposite might be more true. If they've already given you money for a planning to plan a project.
That might also be true.
Oh.
Yeah.
Especially if they're doing 2 in one cycle. Like you
Yeah, here Rochester has it, both are projects, not planning.
Rochester number 1 project
Yeah.
and Rochester number 2 project.
So they maybe broke them up, huh? Like the front
Yeah, well,
door
I
and
mean,
the
a
back
community
door?
can apply for 2 different projects.
Montague, too.
Because we could
planning.
apply for a grant, and the senior center could apply for a grant, and the municipal center could apply for a grant.
Yeah, it's not just libraries. Yeah.
So, do you want us to tell you to get in, moving with the BFCC?
I suppose so. Do you want me to contact Bill and try to get on the next BFCC agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll do that.
Do you need a motion or just yes?
Just yes ought to be fine.
But they're conscious, too, about the amount of money that has been spent already planning and planning and planning. And it's time to get moving.
And that's, something that we will have to probably defend is, why do we want to scrap the, $2.3 million estimated project, given how much money went into that planning and process and whatnot.
It does happen, though. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens
Yeah,
other municipal
that's true,
departments.
right.
I mean, you have to come to terms with reality eventually, and that, you know, the money was spent and plans were drawn up, but, you know, the town invested in other areas, and the money for a giant library project is not there.
And, well, I think then we look on the bright side, too, is like, it doesn't have to cost us whatever it was.
No, it
2.5
doesn't have to
million.
be that.
Yeah, and still be effective.
It would make us go out and spend money for an updated cost analysis anyway, so.
And that was
They don't-
$10,000.
It was how much?
$10,000, I think, is what
it
was
was
spent to
30,000.
have the.
Yeah, but that's for the 2.3
Yeah, maybe.
cajillion one.
Yeah, but I think that was spent right before I became the director, just to get an update
Right,
on, you know, what it would cost to do that,
right.
which I don't get. But
Well, they don't either anymore. You know, they, I think they're agreeing with us. You know, why do we have to do all of this? But they know the building process better than we do, certainly. So
yeah, I've never gone out to bid or done anything like that, so I will need a lot of guidance from them, and that's what they're to do.
Great.
It's their job.
so Mike Fitzpatrick is on that committee too.
I think so. I did talk to Jeff Dugan. He is the Assistant Director for Community Service at the Massachusetts Office on Disability. He assured me that we do not need a variance from the Architectural Access Board for a single unisex ADA-compliant restroom as long as we have only one public restroom, because the rules are if you put in an ADA-compliant restroom, it has to be with your current restrooms. You can't like have your 2 male and female restrooms and then throw your ADA compliant restroom in the basement, given that we don't have any compliant restrooms right now at all. And once this project is over, we will only have one restroom, because the restroom at the switchback stairs it'll have to be closed off if we want this. Then we don't have to have a variance. We can just do it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can put a shower in there.
Good news. I'm sorry?
Bathroom.
Yeah, or a sauna.
Or just a closet space. We could
Yeah, that's
always
true.
use more closet space.
It's true.
Yeah, we could fit a closet in there now.
With a toilet in it. A closet with a toilet.
Doesn't want that. We did somehow bring this.
That's everything for building projects.
That's everything for building projects.
5-year plan. Who else forgot?
I only lucked out that I
I
happened to notice. I was cleaning.
I think I already made all my comments.
Yeah, this is the very pared down version, which got rid of all of the did we succeed in our last 5-year plan language, because we had seen that, we had hashed through it, and I had, you know, some suggestions on changes which were contradictory with each other, and I just wanted to axe that and streamline it and just make it about the future. So
Did you change anything from the last copy we looked at? Like, have you?
nope, this is exactly what you were looking at last month.
Okay. I have little edits that are.
Little edits.
Oh, there was a couple things that were, I don't know if I could just start, but the proposed vision statement, and right under that, there were a couple things that I think we all kind of talked about. So, no, they're not numbered, but.
Proposed
Third
vision
page.
statements.
So we considered removing literary. The Simon Fairfield Public Library invites everyone in Douglas two TO was missing, to join us in creating an inspired, informed, enriched, and empowered either community or literary community. So I think you might have even brought it up, Justin, that is literary too highbrow?
Necessary, okay. So put in the 2 that is missing and delete literary. Does anyone object?
Well, I'm open to.
Well, it says in the short thing, it says the Simon Fairfield Public Library aims to inspire, inform, enrich, and empower the community of Douglas. The thing that we got last week, or last month.
Oh, yeah, the proposed mission statement.
Yeah, is that what we're talking about?
She's talking about the
Oh,
proposed vision
we're on the
statement.
next page.
It was just the following page. So like the mission statement is the short and sweet, this is what we do.
Mission statement's even shorter, so it's a lot of the same stuff, but it's shorter than the vision statement.
Okay.
Now, so you have your current and proposed mission statement, and then your vision statement is supposed to be like the more flowery expounded version of that, which elucidates it entirely, whereas your mission statement's like your elevator pitch soundbite.
And the other thing under, staying on that proposed vision statement, one of the bullets, what was considered last time was adding something about like including all ages, you know, children, senior citizens, whatever else. I'm not saying we have to do that, I'm just saying that was discussed if we wanted to do that.
So we aim to include all age groups, is that what you want to say?
Or what if we just altered, we aim to empower
All,
Douglas citizens of all ages?
Yeah.
And socioeconomic strata, should we put that in here too?
well, I think it's important, but I don't think it works there.
Not necessarily just Douglas, though.
Yeah, you're not from Douglas, Justin, so we won't empower you.
Empower citizens of all ages.
Citizens?
How about residents of all?
Well, then, all the bullets say
Plenty of
Douglas.
other
Yeah, all the
people in
bullets say
there.
Douglas.
Summer residents, visitors, travelers. It's really open to anybody.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's open to, do we want to make that part of of a statement somewhere, either the vision statement or?
Well, no, I just don't want to limit it here to just Douglas citizens.
So then we need to
Even
change the
citizens is a
mission
limited
statement
word.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
I would-
Yeah. Empower the
call it
community
people
of
or something.
Douglas in the mission statement is, all those people that you just mentioned are the community of Douglas, the visitors. Yeah,
necessarily.
they are. Anybody that comes here.
If they're traveling through on the way to Boston, they're the community of Douglas.
That's what makes it sort of unique. I mean, that's what, you know, you have Wallem Lake, and you have a lot of people coming through that might want to use the Wi-Fi and stuff. And you're not going to deny them. Because
Literary community is good.
I don't like that, because
Okay.
it's,
Too much about reading?
yeah.
Humans of all ages.
Yeah, people,
Humans, yeah.
human.
People, all peoples.
Oh, yeah.
Peoples.
No aliens.
Discrimination. What if we just say empowered library community?
Yeah,
Library what?
Library community instead of literary community.
I don't mind that.
I don't
That
know,
sounds-
going back.
I like just community. I
That's
like,
fine too.
invites everyone in Douglas to join us in creating an inspired, informed, enriched, and empowered community.
I think we really need to think though if we want to take Douglas out or not, because it would mean taking out of everything. Like all the vision statement, all the mission statement, the tagline.
Well, one of the things that you wanted to apply for was the grant for the homeschooling community. Are all those people from Douglas?
Mostly,
See, not all of them, so
Not all of them.
therefore you don't want to limit it.
but our primary mission is to Douglas, because like we
'Cause
preserve
Douglas is
Douglas
paying for it.
history, not lines, exactly, because
Yeah.
Douglas is paying for it.
No, but we also get this LIG-MEG grant money from the state. And
Okay.
that is providing us the ability to serve other people. We don't deny service to people from other communities.
So it's really residents and transients. That's maybe,
Yeah, go back to humans.
I'm trying to think of a word that says whoever happens to be here.
Well, I know,
The
I mean,
current
like,
vision statement says Douglas, Blackstone Valley, and beyond. Just keep that. But I don't think we should take Douglas out of everything because that is our primary.
Maybe it's Douglas and, Douglas and others. I don't know what's inclusive but not.
So what if we, in the vision statement, in the bullets, just say we axe Douglas and put our community?
And broader community?
Well, I don't want to get too wordy with that because it's like repeated 4 times. It's like we aim to inspire Douglas, we aim to inform Douglas, we aim to enrich Douglas, and we aim to empower Douglas.
Well, what you took out was above services at all times to all people of all ages, regardless of age, race, gender, or ability.
The old one, is that what you're looking at?
If we like the old one better.
I don't like all of the old one, but,
The old one's pretty long.
yeah.
What will this be used on or for? I'm just trying to think of.
Just giving it to the MBLC so that we have an approved 5-year plan on file with them so that we can apply for their grants.
Okay, it's not going in all your marketing materials or.
No,
Websites
just
and such.
just like the mission statement will probably be on the website somewhere, and this will be in like the policies and procedures.
Do you happen to know if other towns use their town name in it? Because it would be like, oh, those
They
Douglas
typically
people.
do. They typically do.
Okay.
Well, you could just say, in the last one, you just say, we aim to provide access to information technology tools and all that. It wouldn't say Douglas. Douglas is already there about enriching our historical heritage, that is Douglas. But the last one, you could just say, we aim to provide access to all that.
Then I want to change them all though to active language.
Right, because they would, except maybe that third one.
Because right
the
now,
rest of
each
them.
one references a point in our vision statement. So one is inspiring, one is informing, one is enriching, one is empowering. So if we lose the word empowering, that takes away the,
Oh. Okay,
We
as
aim
long as
to
we just provide it to anybody who wants it. In reality,
empower
that's okay.
everyone by providing access to information.
World, the whole world.
Empowering
You could say-
users?
Or residents and visitors?
No, just users. Users can be residents and.
Visitor sounds more
Visitors.
inclusive, though, more friendly.
What is?
Visitor sounds a little more friendly than just users.
Everyone is
Users
even
could be
more
a drug
inclusive.
user.
We've got 5 more minutes with Dana.
Dana, have any thoughts?
What do you wanna
I'm
add,
fine with
Dana?
leaving it
Wordsmith many
Douglas personally.
documents in my life, so I don't think it ultimately matters. if we use
It's just for grants.
Users,
I think we just take out literary and leave all the
Animals.
Douglases in.
It's fine by me. But
It doesn't mean we're gonna turn anyone away, it's just.
So you didn't put anything in here about increasing hours or days or anything like that? That was one of my big points.
I thought I did have that in here somewhere.
I just was briefly going through it, but.
oh, I had one other small change.
there was an evaluation of objectives from last 5-year, from the last plan, but I didn't see it.
Make programming decrease wait times, make it easier.
Orders of manual.
That apparently it got deleted out somewhere when I was copying and pasting. So add increase hours to strategies in plan. I will fix that. Because I thought it was here.
What's a tab, an acronym tab? Start a tab.
Teen Advisory Board.
Okay. An similar subject on the next page, it says engage seniors. I would put senior citizens because seniors to me is a senior in high school.
Or venerable forebears.
Yeah, that's better.
So try to make the vision statement a little more inclusive.
Is on the next to the last page down by B under analyzers, there's supposed to be a D on that minimize?
Under the third from the end page,
No, second from you.
second from the last, analyze alternative strategies. Where's there supposed to be a D?
Is minimize supposed to have a D? Because I couldn't quite understand it.
For alternatives to the currently approved project.
With minimal.
With minimal, that's supposed to be minimal.
They just approved the Amazon drones for delivery, so that home delivery option could be, is
Drones.
that what you were thinking, drones?
We aim to empower Douglas, providing access to information technology tools. So increased hours should probably be under the fourth bullet. Engage staff, engage kids, engage seniors. So I'd probably do an IV at the end there. Engage community, maybe? And then have the strategy be increase library hours to target
I don't know what you're looking for, to target.
maybe target's not the right word.
Increase the hours to get like more people in there, is that what you're looking, is that what are you going for?
I mean, you could do it for adding a Wednesday night or a Monday night or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to express. Increase library hours in a way targeted to maximize use to current not comers.
Convenience, for the convenience of
The community.
Increase library hours to provide more convenient access to resources.
Is that also medium priority like the others?
I thought I took the priorities out.
Okay, maybe I'm looking at an older version.
You hadn't seen the priorities.
Okay, thank you.
They're all high priorities.
Okay.
Also priorities of opportunity. If I see an easy way to solve a problem, I solve it. Even if it's not on the priority list. Okay, so I'll work those in. And then readdress it next week. Let's move on while we still have Dana.
Next month, is that what you're saying, Ally?
No, we should have a meeting next week. I want
All right, next we have meeting room use.
So I talked to Matt. We can set our own policies and procedures for meeting room use. We do not have to use the municipal application, though it would be wise to give a heads up to the police if and when the library is used after hours. As requested, I did talk to the directors about their policies at the Blackstone Valley Director meeting. It seems pretty standard that everyone has these really long, extensive legalese facilities use agreements that people have to sign, but the policies are pretty short. I mean, it's like our computer use policy. Don't do anything illegal. Don't do anything stupid. Don't get hurt. Whereas, the agreements have to be more like, you absolve the library staff in the town of Douglas from all potential this, that, and the other, and all that stuff.
Would town council need to look at that, because it's kind of some legalities, right, in the
It wouldn't hurt, but we could also just copy and paste from one that's already from a reputable library and replace, Worcester
Yeah.
with Douglas, and then we
Yeah,
have something we know has
that's
already gone through the gamut. He costs money.
Oh, he does, he's not just on the towns. Okay, gotcha.
So I can write up a draft of policy for library use before the next meeting if we want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
See where it goes.
Okay, do it.
All right, next we have bylaws. Very exciting. Dana's gonna be sad he left.
I got some.
Let's put him in charge of that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people responded with their trustees' bylaws.
So this is draft.
A lot more people responded with their facilities use forms. But I attached what I did get to the back of the packet. You want to read them for your own edification and see how they line up to
They're
your
like 4
bylaws.
pages, they're pretty long, huh?
We have Grafton and Uxbridge.
Uxbridge.
And Newman, was that the other one they gave me?
That's all
I just see 2,
Yeah, just to,
Grafton. I thought I had 3.
which is fine.
I had a page put these together for me. So I thought there was another one. Anyway, I can keep hunting for
Actually,
more.
something
if you
does
want
look
more.
like it's weird because it's like Uxbridge, page 2, page 4, page 6, and page 8. Like something's missing maybe.
Just in trouble.
I just wrote him a recommendation letter today too.
Oh my god.
Anyway, I'll
Yeah, there are some pages missing.
yeah, I'll collect what I have and forward them out.
Why were we asking for these? I don't even remember.
So ignore those.
Why were we wanting to look at these?
because ours were written in 2000 or 1000.
1,000.
Year 1000.
1903.
Yeah, 1903 or 5 or something like that, yeah. And they are missing some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they were.
Or they've got too much power in them too. That Barbara's in charge of all the money. Okay, so you'll send something out.
Yeah, I'll send out the things that did not get put together right.
And then do we have, should you send the one that exists now too? Do we want to,
That's on
Get
Google
that.
The one
Docs.
that's on Google Docs, right? Yeah.
oh, I don't.
You looked at it. You commented on it.
Yeah, you made
You
some
made little
edits on it.
comments
Do a
and
lot of
proposed
reading and
edits.
not remembering. Okay.
All right, that brings us to Friends.
Oh, friends, my goodness. We're having our annual meeting this Saturday.
Right.
And I was working on doing budget stuff, and I think right now we have a balance in the, after expenses that we've already spent this year of about $10,000, which is good. So we'll have to be deciding, or the officers and whoever else shows up will decide, how much they want to provide to the library this coming year. So it's pretty nifty.
And that's at 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. on Saturday, yep. Unfortunately, I think it's supposed to be good weather.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I wish it was going to be a rainy day.
Switch it to Friday.
And we also are having our book and or plant sale, not flower sale. We're in competition with you. On Memorial Day, the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, and Kristen Stevens has really gotten excited about it. So she wanted a whole bunch of pots and stuff. So I gave her, she wanted to, she said, well, how about trees? And I said, sure. But she is so enthusiastic about the whole thing. So she's got and you had said you had annuals or perennials.
Well, I keep thinking of, it's been on my mind a lot, and I was talking to someone about it, I think, and they were asking, I wanted to ask you, vegetables. They asked if you want like any plants, like vegetables
Yes.
included. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm growing vegetables right now. So
Yeah.
I've got like 55 tomato plants.
Yeah.
I don't need that many.
Probably not.
But a lot of them do die when you put them in the ground.
Yeah.
but-
I know, it's-
So it's a mixture, but then I have perennials too. If I get my act together, I
Yeah.
can. I
I
went
could
down
look some
to
stuff up.
Stonington today to buy fish. They have a great fish market there, and we were chatting about. We said there must be a shoulder planting group here because all the shoulders were all daffodils going down. Not all in all, but a lot of little plots of daffodils. And I said, I wonder if they would grow on our shoulders. And I don't know if they would or not. But,
Yeah, something
but we
like
can
that's
dig
good.
up bulbs like that. And
Yeah.
I have blue flags and those types of things can go in the
Yeah,
ground.
I could separate some stuff too when it gets closer.
Yeah.
I'll have some veggies and I have tons of perennials too, so.
Okay, great.
We need book sorters too, down in the Friends room. I don't know if y'all have been down there,
Sorters.
but it's
Is it out of control?
it's out of control.
Right.
So Dawn, does your son still want to volunteer?
So he's kind
Someone.
of done his volunteer activities for the moment, but he's going to have to do some more. But like, I don't know. I got to find out if he wants to just do it out of the goodness of his heart, and/or if he can count it towards summer stuff that he knows.
Yeah, we need some people who aren't shy of getting dusty and dirty and
Okay,
pouring
we'll get
through
dirty.
stuff. We've got there's a lot of books down there.
But the Boy Scout, I'm sorry to talk over you, but the Boy Scouts always need volunteer hours. That's, I don't know, would that,
But a big thing is to get rid of all the textbooks.
Yeah, it also needs to be some people who are sort of able to differentiate.
Right.
We can sell this.
Right.
We cannot sell this.
Okay, which
so
might not
that,
be
like
everybody.
everything that it basically, do you want it in the book sale? If not, it needs boxed up and shipped away.
yeah. So you need like someone kind
Which
of
is,
informed.
I mean, Justin and I did it one year, going to the dump and putting them into the donation. They have that book donation thing at the dump, so.
Okay, at our dump,
Yeah,
okay.
I think they still do have that there.
If we can box them, though, if we can get someone to just put them in boxes, I can ship them out via UPS, and they get like recycled into
Like pulped, like down to.
Well,
it
they
depends.
do at
Oh.
the dump too,
They-
or the transfer station, whatever you want to call it. They do get recycled. They get put into that metal cabinet thing.
Yeah.
And it is for recycling, so.
Okay.
Because there's probably truckloads. Truckloads.
Yeah, we've gotten rid of them. I did it right before you came, and then some guy came and paid us $200 or something like that, which was nice. But and then Justin took him. He had a car that he had just bought. It must have been for $100 or something like that. But he filled it so full it was resting. The tires were
Oh my
resting
God,
on the
really?
body of the. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to like stop at the book donation bins on my way home from work, and then just like put them in there.
Yeah.
But now we have the
That's a
agreement with Better
hassle.
World Books, so whatever we ship out, we get credit for.
Right.
So,
How much?
and they try to sell before they recycle, so they.
Yeah.
I like using Better World Books.
Yeah, it
Because
seems
they
like a
will
good
find
program.
a book a home if there's a home for it to be
Yeah,
had,
if there's a home.
and then they will pulp it to turn into new books.
So is there a time, is this trying to get done before the 25th? Is it 20, it's like a month away, right?
Yeah, well, it's, in order to get something orderly for the book sale, yeah, it would be,
Need to go through it. And it's like that whole room down there has to be gone through, so it's like a while.
yeah. And what we did in the winter, our $205 sale was just non-print stuff. So it was audios and videos
Right,
and
right.
stuff. Usually the DVDs go really quick, but they didn't this time.
Yeah.
So.
So there's volunteer hours required for National Honor Society. What about also asking the Douglas NHS group for volunteers. They
National
sh-
Honor Society.
Yeah, they have to do hours every semester, so I don't know how many there are in Douglas, but they should be fairly informed to be able to know a little more than Boy Scout might.
Yeah, and I'll also ask at the Friends meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If,
Whoever I send down there ends up being a little uncomfortable because they don't like making the judgment call.
Yeah.
I
It
don't
is a
like
little
making the judgment
intimidating.
call for the organization. You know what
no, but if you just get rid of all the textbooks, that
That's just that.
those
yeah.
are big books, and that gets rid of a lot
But
of
that
stuff.
clears up like 2 shelves,
Oh, you think?
whereas all the shelves are full. Sorry. But it's like that. Like if you go down there, you're going to get hit in the head with a book.
Yeah, that's a good illustration.
Yeah, so I should have thought of that
What?
yesterday when it was raining.
Oh,
I didn't.
We can corral some friends on Saturday.
Do it some night, make a little party of it.
Yeah.
Just us.
Well, you can only like 1 or 2 people can do it at a time too because it's such a
Small room.
small room.
even if you took out pulled some out into the area,
Yeah, but
the room
then you have
outside
to
of
pull
it.
it back in
Yeah.
by the time you leave.
Because you're pulling it into Deb's office.
Yeah, but if you're doing it like
There's
after
really
hours
not
and
an easy
cleaning it up.
solution other than picking some person and locking them in there and saying,
like
you
fun.
can come out when you're done.
But you can
I would
sort-
love to do it. I would love to put in my headphones and go down there and just like
Yeah.
pick out all the books to send off for recycling.
Yeah, another way of doing it is pulling out all the paperbacks. There are a lot of paperbacks in there, and you don't really have to do anything with the paperbacks. The nice thing about doing fiction and nonfiction is that it's nice to have the same authors together, or the authors in alphabetical order. So,
Yeah, it seemed very organized. The last regular book sale I was at.
yeah.
Yeah, what's on the shelves is really organized. It's all the stuff that's in the floor that's not. Unfortunately, the stuff that's on the shelves has probably also been through 2 or 3 book sales at this point, and that's the stuff that should probably go.
Yeah, right. Because how many times are you going to bring it upstairs and bring it back down?
So it's the new stuff that needs sorted, and like the old organized stuff is what.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, any other old business? Any other friends' business? All right, any other old business? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business.
I wrote out the annual town meeting warrant.
Oh, good.
Oh, it's in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
If y'all want to handle that, I'm just want to run the rest.
Oh, good. And it's not, when Danielle reads it, she should be told not to say to see if the town is, I move that the town will vote.
Okay, I move.
Yeah, she's moving it.
Okay.
And somebody needs to second it. I tried.
So she'll just stand up as like an audience member and.
Well, she's a
Is that how-
trustee.
She'd have to go up to the
She'll go up to the podium, they'll recognize her. to go.
Okay, but it won't be listed. It won't be written out.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, they usually do that.
Oh, it'll be on the warrant. Oh, okay. Yep, now I know.
No, but in the warrant, it says to
See,
to see.
But she has to say,
the
"I
written,
move."
Yeah,
Yeah.
the written out part usually does, because I've had that, I've had to do it. And usually, the administration has written out the way you want to say the motion, because
Oh, okay.
nobody does it right
yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you?
No, yeah.
But it's important that somebody seconds it.
All right, so should we designate one of us or one person in case
Or
someone's
just
sick, a
everybody
second
can
one?
yell second.
All of
Okay.
us yell it?
well, they have to write down somebody's name.
No.
They don't write down
Well, no,
who
they.
seconded it?
No, it's been seconded.
Really?
Yeah, Keith will say, and it's been seconded. So he doesn't really care who it is. We were just saying that this isn't the motion because you don't say to see if. It says, I move that the town. But the administration usually puts out a script that they'll pass out to all the movers and shakers.
Yeah, the motion has been written because I wrote it,
Yeah, but it's,
and this is the wrong one.
no.
But it's basically the exact
just said
same
that
thing.
first
It's
three
just
words.
instead of
It
to see
says
if,
that
it's I
probably
move
on-
that the town will vote to transfer.
Yeah, And it doesn't say, see if it's from free cash, okay. Because usually in the warrant, it doesn't really say where it's being transferred from, but it does in the cheat sheet.
So what should we all be prepared for, like, whatever people are gonna say, "Oh, I don't wanna spend any more money," like what is it for you to say?
I can definitely answer any questions people have. I don't expect it to be a very contentious thing.
Okay.
Because it's coming out of free cash that's already there.
Okay. What number is
Matt
it?
will probably
It seems like
explain.
the earlier ones.
6. It's 6. Matt will probably explain where the money's coming from if anyone asks, because it's basically leftovers
Okay.
from other projects.
So if you could ask Matt if they do have the script written, because the other thing you don't say is, or take any other action related thereto. That, the last of the sentence. To be sure and get a copy to you so you can give it to Danielle ahead of time.
I would ask at the meeting, what does it cost yearly to keep this thing going?
Yeah, it was mentioned. I think
It's
it's
in the
20
quote
bucks,
somewhere.
$19 or $20 a month or
Something
something.
like that.
And how hard is it? This is with the cards entry? Or is that not part of
When
it?
you come in, you'd have to punch in a code.
Oh, not a card entry. Oh, that's different, because I'm wondering, what does it cost to get the cards made and all that?
It's one of those things where-
Yes,
Yeah.
$20 a month for
It's a
monitoring. yeah.
keypad.
Yeah, the keypad is like a number pad.
Oh, okay. I
So
thought
you
it
could
was
come
a
in the
key
building,
card, I thought you
the
said.
motion sensors will detect you, and then you have, like a minute or so to go in and punch the proper code, or else then alarms will go off and the building will ask you why you're here.
It's a little invasion of privacy to have those cameras in there all the time. Did you talk to the staff? Do they like being watched at all times doing their work? And
Well, we're not going to be watching at all times. I mean, it's one of those things that if we see, someone go out the door with a bag and then notice that we're missing 5 DVDs, we'll go back and, load up the footage and try to find. But actually getting to the footage isn't easy. It doesn't it's not one of those things that keeps, the monitor screens like at a security station where everyone's watching
in
all
the
the time.
movies.
It's
No,
more
yeah,
of a
it's
something
worth
went
to go back
wrong.
and try to
Let's go
figure
back
out.
and find out what happened. Then we can see.
Yeah. I forget if the police or fire were involved at all, like if because it's security, right? So that's like a positive to the town to be able to say it's, they've got the parking lot in the back and book drop, not to give people ideas, but.
That's a good idea, to have one of them to ask either the police chief or and the fire chief to both.
To speak up about security.
Yeah, the importance of it. That's a very good idea.
I will reach out.
Any other comments on that?
Is everybody
Did we
planning to
want
go? I was just wondering if, yeah, it's on
I plan to go.
Emergencies.
I'm just talking about the annual and special town meeting. I wasn't around for the Finance Committee's hearing, so I just wanted to know how that went.
It was.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, the one.
That was
from a
last
few
week,
years?
or the
Oh, last
11th?
week.
oh,
Oh,
they did their,
Oh, this most recent
see that.
finance public hearing, finance committee.
Yeah.
Just nothing happened.
Nothing
They
was
just went through the
just-
budget, talked about the line items. There were some questions on some line items, but nothing serious and nothing related to us.
So some other departments were questioned.
A little bit.
Can you let us know who they were?
Or was
It
it?
was the schools. It was all the discussion, I think, revolved around the schools.
typical,
Wait, who was
right.
there? You were there.
Well, that
No.
was for your presentation. Are you talking about their whole?
Yeah,
The public hearing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun to listen to the whole
Dave,
thing to see where contention might happen or where support is happening.
I don't think there was really any contention. There was people asking questions and, getting clarified. Everyone, sometimes
Or
people feel
personalized.
obligated to ask questions even when they don't have a question, just to, it was like that, I thought.
So you don't think it's
Word for that.
worthwhile for us to watch it if we haven't seen it yet? Or heard it?
Or maybe just watch the
Just to get
library part.
the what you're not telling me. You know, so
I understand what you're saying, though.
It didn't stick in my brain at all. It was,
I know what you're
everyone
saying,
was,
just to be, so they can stand up in front of everyone.
because since the selectmen, I think, were already had already heard about the budget. Matt's prepared everything. Everything's kind of just ready to go for town meeting. And the public hearing, is usually an opportunity for the finance committee to grill department heads about why they're asking for what they're asking for. But, I mean, what we were asking for was all kind of determined a year ago.
Right.
Yeah, so theoretically, the next few years should be
I mean,
fairly.
this first budget season where the library wasn't
change. I
contentious.
know.
so-
Yeah, you're like, yeah.
Quite relaxing.
Yeah, a lot
I
less
guess
work.
it wasn't contentious the first year I was the director.
Yeah,
But
it was like
has been every other one.
No, it wasn't last year, for sure.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah. Yep. A lot of meetings, too.
All right, are we ready to move on to 2019 budget?
Yeah.
Tell us your story.
Well,
Kind of
I
already
think everyone
explained it.
already knows the story. I thought we had more money than we did.
Yep. You already explained that.
And it was an oversight on my part. I put a number in the wrong place. And the way that Jean and I work is we reconcile what I've spent
Right.
and what we've taken in. And, I have this, giant printed out budget behind my desk that I keep magneted to my filing cabinet, and it has the amounts on it that were originally approved at the annual town meeting, and then it has that weird little flag line item for the 2,701, and I'm like, well, I already took care of that because I put it in my spreadsheet. I put it in my ledger, but I put it. The ledger has accounts and then it has sub-accounts. And with the municipal appropriation, I have to use sub-accounts because I can't spend any operational appropriation on personnel and I can't spend any personnel appropriation on operations. Otherwise, this wouldn't even be a problem.
Right.
But since I can't shunt money from one place to another, and it has to be spent either on operational line items or personnel items, this affects the operational line items, and it basically means we have enough money left to cover our utilities for the rest of the year. But anything else we fund above and beyond that will have to come out of grants or some other account, because it's possible there might be some change left in it after the once we get closer to
Right.
the end of the fiscal year. But on June 30th, once the last electric bill is paid and the last telephone bill is paid, then I will know whether we have an extra $100 or not.
Right.
And until then, I really won't.
And so what's the time period too, Justin? So it's, when we say 2019,
June 30th.
so through June 30th of
Through June
2019?
30th.
Oh, okay.
April, May.
So we're not talking another year, we're just talking another quarter, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
And
that's
usually,
good.
a pretty quiet quarter because, all of the big expenses are behind us. So what's left is just maintaining our canopy subscription, any cost per circ overdrive things that come through, any books that have been on back order and already picked by Baker and Taylor brought out. But I mean, it's this time of year that I reach out to Baker and Taylor and I say, cancel all of my back orders and put them all in another cart so I can evaluate what we have left. So, I mean, for the and I was just I was happy because I was like circulation's up. I still have more money to spend on books and everything is hunky dory.
Should've known better.
But the no, I thought that there was $200,701 that there was not.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. If it's that, I can understand, I think, what you're saying, how it can easily be moved over. I'm just curious, is that like an Excel thing that you're using, or is it like a town budget kind of program? Like, what does it
The
look
town
like?
uses its own budget program, and I use my own budget program because I don't
Okay.
have access to Munis, which is what Gene
Yeah.
uses. I use New Cash, which is like an open source version of Quicken.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I know that.
It's free.
So you're requesting to spend your whole, all of the grant money, because you've already spent $5,794.49. And so and if you add 5367.62 to that equals $11,162.11, right?
Yes. So that's a separate story. So story number one is I screwed up.
I was just reading through that.
And I need, so I'll, accept any castigation for that.
What are we allowed to? What are, is that in
2,701.
the? Is that in the? What are we calling it? The What can we do within our library?
You can give me a verbal reprimand or a written reprimand, or you can basically,
Nothing.
or get rid of
Put
me.
you in stock.
And that will restore the money.
Just that I think your self-flagellation is admirable, but it's not necessary.
I'm sorry.
Your self-flagellation is sufficient.
So one member of the board thinks that's enough.
Yes. Yes, I agree with Barb.
But yeah, so the two strategies moving forward to the end of the year is to try to just keep expenses to an absolute minimum and spend as little grant money as possible. Or what I would like to ask is just to spend what we take in grants this year on services for the rest of the year. So after signing that voucher, we have spent $5,794 of state grant money. We've gotten $11,162. So if we spend $5,367, then we'll end the year where we started the year with the same balance, which I like because it's
Which is zero. That's what's confusing here.
oh no, the
Not
balance
zero,
won't be
it's
zero.
Something else, right? That's zero would be.
Just go to the first page.
So right now, in total in the grant account, there is $17,850.22.
So you would be,
Probably will be left with about 12,000 or
no, 6,000,
850
because he wants to spend the rest of it.
minus.
He wants to spend all of the 11,162.11.
Well, that's what we took in this year.
Yeah, but there's some from
So
last year.
yeah,
left
so
over.
there was left
And
over. So
if you
minus
have to
5.
subtract that, that's about
three.
$6,000. It's $6,600.
But we will
7,
meet our 19%
2.
requirement for
Yeah.
reading materials without spending this grant.
Use my calculator.
Good idea.
Yes, we will. We're good on our 19%. So if we spend the $5,367, $17,850.22 is our balance right now, and we subtract $5,367.62, we would still end the year with an account balance of $12,482. Because the balance right now is $17,850.
Why would
That's
it be-
already accounting for,
12,000. Where'd you get the 12,000 from?
because 17,850 minus 5,367.
Okay, all right.
Because right now the account is sitting at 17,850.
Right, but if you spent all of the $11,162, it would bring it down to 6,000.
No, but we've already spent 5,794 of it,
Of the 11,160.
of that 11,000.
And you want to spend the rest
And I
of
want to
the-
spend the rest of the 11,000.
So that
we
would
took in
bring the
this
balance
year.
down to 6,600 plus.
12,000.
No, 12,
No, it wouldn't. Why?
12,482.
Where do you get that?
Yeah.
okay, so ignore the fact that the $11,162 is mentioned there. That's just what we took in this year, but we started with a balance before we did that. So we started the year, because in the past, we haven't actually
6,000.
spent the grant money that the state has given us. We started the year with our current balance, 17,850.22 plus, no, minus, no, wait, now you're confusing me, Ellie. Oh my gosh, what's going on?
Well, because
Starting with
it's,
$6,688, right?
Well, it must have been more than that.
so if you take the 11,162 away from the 17,850, that's what you started the year with.
17,850.22.
Which is 6,688.
Yeah. 11. 11. 6,000, yes. And we spent so far, yeah, somewhere around that amount is what we started with. If I looked in the ledgers, I could. I don't know what exactly we started the year with.
About
But it's about that.
$688.
Yeah, what's the number anyway?
Well, no, that can't be right.
If you subtract the 11,000 from the 17,000, that's what you started the year with.
Well, it's in last
The
month's
11,000.
treasurer's report.
Yeah, but we spent some out of it too, and that
Where'd
would
you
be
find
something
that?
that we would add to that balance, because we spent
Oh, maybe
last month it was here. I don't have it now.
5,794.49. Yeah, so we started with 12,482. We spent 5,794. But we've added 11,162. That's why our current balance is 17,850.22. So if we spend another 5,367, that brings us back down to the 12,482.
And just so everybody knows in legal, this is, the grant money is money we get from the state every year.
Yep, this is what we get
Usually
for our
about 10 or
compliance and
11,000.
our
Yeah.
MAR, and
Tend
it's,
to reserve it for stuff like computers and
but we already have a lot
technology.
reserved,
But we
even if
can
we
use
don't.
it for anything.
Yes.
So I just,
Upon our support.
yeah. So I don't disagree with what you're proposing. I just want to ask the question where donations is a much larger number, why we wouldn't take it from donations? Well, that's 50,000 versus
Sometimes
17.
they're for something
Specific.
particular for the family that donated.
Okay,
Or it's more like for capital stuff or,
okay, so that's more designated where the grants is
yeah,
like
you don't
kinda
want
whatever.
to.
Yeah, the grants is just money that's given to us by the state every year to augment services for being in compliance with their standards.
Okay, all right.
I think this is an appropriate use of that.
Yeah, it sounds like
I
it.
just have a different philosophy than you do. I think if we're meeting our requirement of 19, that we should keep a buffer for when something happens and we need to go out and fix it. And this is just spending money, not for a necessity, but just to get extra.
Well, nothing
reading
about the
materials.
library is a necessity.
Well, yeah,
But it's
if the
for providing
computers go,
services.
we will
If the
need
computers
them.
go, we'll still have $12,000 of grant money.
I have a different philosophy, but I wouldn't spend all that money in 1 year on materials.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Betty, too,
We
that
had the
I,
same discussion last year, right?
yeah,
I think
right.
probably.
It is an ongoing discussion, because if you're given money
There's
for
the
library
savers and there's the
services,
spenders. You know, and
I think it's.
but, if this isn't like a private household, where, if you're saving, you're also depriving of a service
Right.
that could be available.
Yes, especially with the override and the support that we've gotten from the community. I would hate to cut services for them for the next 2.5 months or whatever it is.
So it's, how many months? We have
cutting
2
services.
months. Yeah, 2 months left.
Yeah.
And and how much was your book budget or your materials budget this year?
Somewhere around 40-something thousand.
You're going to spend $5,000 in 2 months?
Yeah,
I could spend
materials?
$5,000 right now if I went
Yeah,
out
see,
and
that's what I
bought
don't,
everything that people wanted.
get itchy.
I mean, if our
with stuff
goal
like
is
that.
to provide people with what they want to read, I could spend this every week, probably. So we have to do it judiciously, but if the resources are there, then, my philosophy is why not give the people what we're here
Library
for?
is supposed to.
I mean, ultimately, it's y'all's call, but if the, we're talking no new bestsellers, no augmentation of override or overdrive materials until July 1st.
And I have a lot of books on hold, so.
Because the book money has all been spent?
Yes, because of the
Because you took the
2,701.
operational out of the book money?
The book money comes out of the operational.
Yeah, and because of the 2,000 that got in the wrong place, that hurt the book budget?
Well, it just hurt the budget overall.
budget, right?
And
There
so,
was enough in the budget to cover that 2,000 because we got the budget we asked for. So it was just a clerical thing that we don't have the $2,000. We had the 2,000 in the operational budget.
No,
It
it's
got
not just
overspent
clerical.
because
Yeah.
it was in the wrong place, but we had everything we needed in what we got from the town. It's not like we had less than we needed.
yeah, but when we budget at the beginning of the year, we budget, I don't
I know,
hold
right?
strictly
I'm
to
trying
each individual
find out
line
how much was in
item.
the book budget, and I,
We always go from
Do
the
it from
total
here.
and work backward. So this is what the library needs to operate. And, if the book budget is always the first thing to suffer if there's a shortfall. Because the utilities have to be paid, and we have all these other sources of revenue that can be tapped. And if we don't pay our utilities out of our operational and go somewhere else, then we lose out on community grant incentives. The data gets weird and fuzzy. So if anything comes from other accounts, it has to be, either circulating materials, office supplies, things that aren't tied into municipal contracts and incentives and things.
So, and what it makes me think of too, I'm not sure if it's an answer for this, but if we're spending a little bit less, does that potentially affect grant money later? Like sort of that if you don't spend
No,
it?
it won't affect grant money. It'll just affect circulation. Circ will go down.
Okay, which doesn't affect the MAR or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay.
well, I'd be willing to give 2 months' worth of, if I can find it in this annual report, 2 months' worth for your printed material or your reading material, whatever it's called. Since,
Last year, you were talking, there were some requests, people had made requests and you couldn't fill them, and then you wanted to, buy those
I think we
books for the year.
compromised in
Yeah, we
team.
did. So is the situation the same now, or will be?
The situation is always the same. At any given point, I can look at, what people are waiting on for hold that they've been waiting for more than a week or two for in Evergreen, and that's going to add up to $2,000 to $3,000 of books and DVDs and physical stuff. And I can look in Overdrive and run a report and find out how many people are anticipating to wait more than 30 days for their e-material, and that usually ends up, being $8,000 to $10,000 at any given point in time. It's it's not throwing money to the wind. There's a demand there that's not being met. The more the demand is met, the more pride there's going to be in the library, the more
Yeah.
trust there's going to be in the library. Because, you know, if the resources are there to meet the need and we're not meeting the need and we're saving it for potential needs in the future which may or may not exist, I mean, the library is always going to be dependent on the municipality for a tax, you know, for its appropriation. I mean, if the library ever loses municipal support, you know, if
We
we've
went
learned
through this
anything in the
last
last
year, yeah.
3 years, you know, the library in this way, shape, and form is not going to survive. So, you know,
So
We
nickel
should-
and diming it is not going to.
to just count on it going
Yeah.
away and then, you know, try to keep a buffer against that, you know, eventuality. If that eventuality happens, it's going to be too late for the library.
Well, I think filling orders is the #1 priority, but spending anything more than filling orders at this time would be unwise. So
Well,
just
it'd already
making
be
sure
a ton
to.
more than this to fill all the orders, right?
Well,
And
I mean,
I'm not
just-
asking to be able to fill out the orders. If I wanted to fill out
But
the orders,
filling
I would be
orders-
asking for everything that's in the grant money.
But just doing your best with what I think. If we need it, we need it. If the library was a business, that's our business is filling
Mission,
orders. You know, and because of this, as long as we learned a lesson, and
Yeah,
we
we
just got to
did,
move
because we're
on.
having the same discussion we had last year, you know, so.
Well,
I think he's talking about me.
Well, yeah,
We had the
just
same
Not being-
discussion even without this problem of $2,000.
Putting
It was
more
more of a
money into
budget
books.
issue last year.
It was
Yeah.
the same, you know,
Yeah.
that's irrelevant really to, I just don't understand why the operational took out 5,000 when the discrepancy was only 2,000. Why do we need 5,000 to make up what?
I could
went?
just ask for 2,701 to see us through the end of the year. I'm just asking for 5,000 because I'd be able to do more.
Yeah, and if
Including
you,
buying some more books.
if you divide your book budget by 12, it works out to 3,000 or a little bit more than that a month. So that would be 6,000, which is
So
more
we're so
than
less.
5,000. So, and you, as you say, you've reported before that, you know, the heavy buying is during the holiday seasons when all the books come out. And so, you know, it's not going to cover it anyway. So I'd go with, if this is a lesser buying period, or you can put things aside, it's not going to hurt anybody. I mean, you know what who the bestsellers are, and what's, you know, hot now, and that's what you should be concentrating on, not the would be nice to have. It's the hot stuff that is what I'd be willing to spend money on, and not the whole $3,000 a month, you know, $6,000 there, you know.
So where does that leave us?
And just, he's going to feel guilty now, and then he won't spend it all. He'll spend, you know, about $2,000 to $3,000, and that will be it. He won't spend the whole $5,000. So.
But it's available if you need it.
No, we have to give the okay. So we're not giving him
But
any
there's another
answer.
month. You can tell us how it's gone in May and see how things are, right?
I can. But basically what I need is just approval to spend
To
grant
spend
money for
something.
operational expenses right now, for bills that come in. And I don't have to go extravagant, but, you know, there's already books that have been selected and picked by the warehouse for shipping in, because I order books, you know, like sometimes 6 months in advance. And there's, you know, the Canopy subscription, there's the Overdrive cost per circ stuff. Like, those are bills that are going to trickle in.
Because
And so, like, I've been ignoring the request to purchase button for a long time, the recommend to library, simply because we can't keep up. We just can't keep up with it.
right. It's
But
just,
we have that money sitting there.
yeah.
It's not sitting there.
I would spend the 5,000.
I would.
Just one thing to keep in mind too, if we've got a meeting in between this two where the town's gonna vote to give us money for a security system, I don't know how much it would affect like an individual person, but if they're trying to get on, 10 people are trying to get on Canopy and that subscription has gone out, or, no one's getting their books because
Well, we
they're
don't
not-
have the specific statistics on Canopy here, do we?
It's around 20 again.
Just examples.
20
If people, I guess what I'm saying is if people are not getting their services, are they gonna feel badly about the library and not be inclined to vote for?
That's the philosophical question of
Yeah.
having assets that
Right.
I think I think we should be meeting the need as much as we can.
Yeah,
That's what we're
I'm
here
fine with meeting the need as well, but I don't know how to put a number to it exactly. If we're lending out 4,000 items, 43.46 according to this, so that's like $1, a little over $1. Can we do you have $1 a piece? We'll give you 4,346. I don't know how to put the number to it exactly, to where it would not be painful to patrons and you. And
That's why I just came. That's the way I got to the 5,376 is that makes it a grant income neutral year, where we're not losing any grant money, but we're not gaining any grant money. We're kind of keeping a hoard, but we're not dipping into it. We're not increasing it.
So it's a compromise.
Everything's a compromise.
So it's not like an anomaly year either. It's just like.
But
this
it's,
is what we should do.
as the town, argued for closing the library and stuff like that, that they shouldn't spend free cash. This is free cash to us. And we have this operating budget from the town. We know there was something that went kaflooey, and that's understandable. But it's just you don't want to depend on this LIG, MEG grants that are coming in for our operating budgets. You can't do that. That's a very unwise way to live. It's just like the
And I don't
selectmen.
see it as a dependency because, we've already met all the minimum requirements of, the 19%, this and that and the other. It's augmenting.
Yeah, but it's also augmenting our building funds if we want to go ahead and provide additional funds through the MIG, LEG grants for our building needs. And that's going to go over a lot better if we can contribute money to it than.
And we have the money to contribute.
Except they-
Instead of using
we are
this for
questioned
operating
why we have
budgets.
that money, though.
What?
We do get questioned on why we have that money in the accounts.
Yeah.
We might understand, but all people see is that
So
we have
you want
money
to
in
spend it all so we don't have anything left, period.
It's not-
Every
it's
year,
not all of
spend
it.
that amount of money on operating budgets. I disagree with that completely, so.
It depends on the accounts. Library incentive grant, most libraries, well, not most libraries, well, most libraries do have it baked into operations at some point. We're lucky that we get the municipal appropriation that we do so that we don't have to rely on library incentive grant. Because whenever I was talking to the other directors in the Blackstone Valley, if they lost their library incentive grant money, they would lose staff because they're using it for,
Operating.
it's so
yeah,
baked in.
Exactly. It's not a wise thing to do.
And we're not baking it in, we're providing extra services. If we
I
spend
just
it.
don't think it's wise to, I think it's better to have money in your back pocket. I don't think you should, you give an allowance of $10 a week or something like that. That's all
I
you
agree
get.
that it's good to have money in your back pocket, but I think that should be in the donations and building donations. Like if we treat every account like that, then we're going to be seen as misers.
But at this
And-
point, we need this money to keep regular operations, it seems.
Yeah.
Not all of it.
So maybe what we need to do is come to a number that's a little bit, I don't know, 20% less, or I don't know what the number is.
I just needed a motion to approve a certain amount of expenditure from grants to augment operations until the end of the year. What the number is up to the board.
So first, we just need to motion if we can take that money out of grants, and then we do a separate motion for the amount? Or how does that work? We're not really picking an amount.
We could do it together.
Okay.
I mean, someone can make an emotion to any effect.
Make a motion, Dawn.
Well, I'm not exactly sure what I'm making the motion for, because I'm with Kate, I'm fine with the expenditure, but if everybody's not in agreement, then I'm trying to figure out a way to make that number where everyone's comfortable. I don't think we're saying none, because then we're like, we can't do anything. But is it somewhere in the middle? We split it right down the middle, 2752.
We could just do it, yeah, for this next coming month. I mean, what's like the
Yeah.
minimum amount to keep the regular amount of spending for this next coming month that you would need? Like $3,000, 2,500?
I mean, like, I don't know, how minimum are we talking? Because, I mean, if we go minimum,
So maybe not minimum, but what you would normally expect to spend. Not
I mean,
being
around
so it'd
2,500,
be-
2,000 to 2,500.
For 1 month.
Do we want to say 3,000, which would have been the book budget?
For the 2 months, is that what you're saying?
Trying to negotiate it back up.
It's Donald Trump when you need him. Negotiator.
I'm so bad at it.
Okay, so if we're saying 2,000 to 2,500 for 1 month, why don't we go a little slant? We'll do it for 2 months. Go a little. So the minimum is like 4,000 for the 2 months. We go like a little bit less than that, and we go somewhere like 3,600 for the 2 months. So we're less than the 5,300, but we're not stymieing what needs to be done. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
So 3,600?
Well, for next month, if we did 2,500, that'd be withholding a little bit. But it'd be, I think that
In the
might be
ballpark.
in the ballpark with an agreement. So maybe we could do a motion for $2,500 for this next coming month, and then elaborate in the next
And
coming
how it
meeting.
went.
Yeah.
So
See if
to
there's
take
any green
$2,500
Breaking the
from
doors down.
the MEG, LIG grants to augment the operating budget. Is that what the motion is?
Yes.
Operating or book?
Operating.
Operating. There
He's
might be,
saying- He's
you know-
saying his books are in the operating budget.
'Cause like
So he's
canopy is not really a
designating
book.
where it's
If
coming
the
from.
printer runs out of ink and I have to replace printer cartridges, I'll have to order more printer cartridges. Other stuff could pop up.
So it's not limited to the books.
So 25 for the next month, is that what we're saying?
I'm not saying for the next month, I'm just saying 2,500. If we have to take more money at the next meeting, then you'll propose it then. You know, we can have this discussion again, but
And again. And again.
I know. I was trying to avoid having it over and over again. 2,500 for May.
I'm kind of uncomfortable limiting it to 2,500,
well, you have another month to adjust it.
and then we'll have to have this discussion again.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm uncomfortable with going above that, so.
I mean, we have 3 people missing, 2 people missing.
My stance is always going to be the same, just for the record.
Yeah, and
I
that's.
want to take the money that's here and turn it into services for the people.
No, I don't, yeah, I don't think you have to.
I do too, but I think you have the idea that if we need something big, we can go to the town. And I have the idea that if we say we need new computers because they all blew, they're gonna say, go to your grants.
Yeah, I can replace every computer in the building for $4,000, though. I don't need 12 grand.
Yeah, we'll still have $12,000, and we'll be getting the
I don't
grant
think
money
you will.
again
I
next
think
year.
you only have $6,688.
Oh,
I guess for the sake of this meeting,
so
I put that motion. Can I get a second?
You did, you made the motion
was
that
the
we
motion
do
now?
2,500 for till the next
Till
meeting?
the
Yeah.
next meeting.
It doesn't have
Or
to
just
change,
for-
just in general.
In general.
And then we
if
can do it
need
again.
more, we'll get more. So it's just to augment the operating budget.
Yes.
Second.
Is that your first motion as a library trustee? All right.
let's write that
Makes the
down.
motions and who
His first
seconds. Just
It's all on
because I never
YouTube.
remember.
Like when Pete's here and we had to say everybody's name who said everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So said such a.
I don't think I was
You
the
remember that?
secretary.
Yes,
then.
you were, because you
All
put
right,
the
so we have a
names in. I
motion, we have a
think,
second, any
why?
other discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I guess I'll say aye.
Yeah, I'll go with it. Yes.
I know. All right, motion passes.
Oh, God, that's not.
Well, and how many opposed?
I know.
are you
There's more.
What
No,
can we
I'm
put off?
abstaining.
I'm tired, and I'm having a migraine.
Oh, no.
This is the second one, and
3, 4, 5.
Okay, so say we can move on to Blackstone Valley Library Directors meeting.
I can't really read right now, so yes.
Oh.
What you
Moving
just
on to the
said.
next bullet point. So we had a meeting of the Blackstone Valley Library Directors on April the 12th at the library. All 11 libraries in the Blackstone Valley were here. We decided we'll continue floating our large prints and our CD books, but the group, it was kind of a meeting of smashing former collaborations because we were deciding that they didn't work very well. The group favors meeting more frequently in the future, but they want the meetings to be geared towards sharing insights and advice instead of trying to form these deep operational collaborations.
Yeah.
Because there's too many moving pieces with each individual library. That's one of the reasons that the library passes have fallen apart, is because at one of the libraries, their museum passes are purchased by the Friends, and their Friends decided they don't want the passes to go outside their community. And then another library, their library passes are purchased from such and such fund, which specifies it's just for this and that and the other. And, another library says, well, a person from another town can borrow our library pass if it's not on hold for one of our patrons. So it was just a crapshoot.
Yeah.
So like there's different boards, bylaws, Friends. Some of the libraries have unions. There's different administrations. Deep, meaningful collaborations aren't going to emerge that we can apply to every library, and it was getting messy because one of the libraries wanted to float audiobooks, but they didn't want to float large print. So then. We have one floating group, and you kind of have to pick one or the other.
Wait, what does floating mean exactly?
It means if a patron in our floating group, so say like
In the 11 libraries?
if it's let's just say it's Douglas or Whitensville or Uxbridge, because it's
Okay.
not all the 11 libraries that do it. If someone takes out a Douglas large print book and returns it in Whitensville, it stays on the Whitensville shelf.
Oh.
It's our item, but it stays there. And likewise, if someone from Douglas brings in something from Uxbridge on hold and they return it at our library, it stays at our library on our shelf. And it was it's seen as a way to kind of mix the collection around to keep things moving so that we're getting fresh material on the shelves. But, we did this with formats that are dead, that don't move. So they haven't really made a whole lot of difference. They did at first, but we started doing this right as Overdrive was really taking off in terms of audiobooks, and people were starting to use it for audio instead of just ebooks.
Yeah.
So it was a great thing, but if you want to have a meaningful change, a meaningful impact, what we would need to do is float something like DVDs, something that moves and actually makes a difference
Yeah.
and impact on the community.
Yeah, DVDs.
But that is too big of a step. They don't want to form those operational entanglements between libraries because you have to get assuming our floating group has 7 libraries in it, you have to get 7 library directors to buy in. You have to get 7 library staffs trained to catalog things more or less the same way. You have to get 11 boards of trustees to approve it. You have to get 11 town administrators to say, that's okay to do with taxpayer assets. And it's like regionalizing a school district. You have so many things that have to work right, and if one of them goes wrong, everything is off. So the Blackstone Valley Library Directors are going to meet again on September 20th in Uxbridge, and the focus is going to be more on sharing ideas, sharing advice, talking about patrons, best practices, more just kind of a congenial get-together of library directors than
that's a great idea.
than our original intent of trying to regionalize services.
That has merit.
It has merit. It's a little disappointing, but
Yeah. But
it is what
we
it
don't
is.
want it to make more work for
it
everyone, so,
ends up making a lot more work, and you just can't get people to agree.
yeah. It's New England after all.
It's New England. You can't get people to agree.
Thing. So you're trying to meet more frequently? Because like September seems like that's, what's that, 5 months?
Well, they said they wanted to meet quarterly, but then the next quarter would be right in the middle of summer reading, and then that's just too much.
Yeah.
And then right after summer reading, it's too much because everyone takes their vacations then, and so it ended up getting pushed back to September.
Yeah.
I was impressed that we had all 11 libraries there. That was the first time we've had everybody.
Yeah. Interesting. And where was
There's
that?
also 11 angry library directors sitting around the table.
No,
With my kids
was there
wreaking havoc
scotch?
in the children's room behind it.
But it's important that they all felt the need to come, and they wanted to talk to each other, and that is
I
worthwhile.
think it's really worthwhile.
Speaking of, I would be remiss not to ask. Technically, the board could decide to fill holds for Millville patrons.
Why did Millville lose their library certification?
They lost their certification. And
Sad.
Do you want to go home tonight?
Which one?
'Cause Millville, this is a hot topic.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
That's tough.
You know they were
this-
decertified? Millville, months.
the same time that we did, that we were going through the fight here,
So
they
a
were going
year
through the
ago.
fight there.
They lost.
We won, but they did not. So they are officially decertified.
But they had applied for a
Limping
waiver,
along.
I think, but then.
They didn't get
it.
their waiver.
Yeah. It sucks.
So are you asking us something? Did they come to this meeting?
They came to the meeting and they asked if anyone off the off chance would be willing to loan to their patrons. And we all said, there's kind of probably no, but we will take it to our boards because ultimately it's up to the boards to decide.
It helps them if you don't. If then
they're
their
out.
community realizes, oh, what they said was true. And I mean, and that's very important to not back down. I mean, it's just like when the Worcester Public Library director came down. That was very impressive,
Well,
And that was the-
surprisingly, I disagree with that because it's depriving. You think of the high school students there, they're trying to do their term papers, they're trying to read books. There's no preschool, all their 3 and 4-year-olds are getting no books to read. That to me is more important than impressing their town to vote for the library. So I would say do it, but I've always been outvoted.
But that was a powerful argument that we had here last year, that our population would not be able to borrow
Borrow
books
it
from
all.
adjacent to town.
Because it was like, oh, just go
And
to
that-
Uxbridge. That
that
wouldn't have
would-
hurt. It wouldn't have hurt if we could have just gone to Uxbridge or whatever. I'm agreeing with you. If we were able to just go to the neighboring town, it would
And a
not
lot
have
of
been a big
people thought
deal.
that
Well,
they
you're
could.
throwing
And
all their
people
people to the
But
wind.
that was one of
I
the concepts
know.
people did not understand. I heard it so people just didn't get it.
Right. We had to explain that over and over again.
And over and over again. But because it was one of the most powerful arguments that we had.
Yes,
Right.
it is. It is.
So anyway, I did my due diligence and I took it to the board.
Sad.
And you heard varying opinions, right?
Do we want to vote on this, or do we need to vote on this?
I don't think we know enough.
I don't think anyone's ever tried to do it, but one thing maybe, if agree to loan just juvenile materials.
Our circulation would go way up.
You could, as I've mentioned in a previous meeting, you could charge for them to use the library, like $25 a family or something like that, or, for one card in the family. And then that will show them that it is a service that costs money too. And that would have to be voted on by all of us. And you'd have to keep the money or figure out something.
That have to figure out what we can do with the money.
Right, exactly. So, Jean would have to come into the conversation and, how would it be in a recurring thing or whatever that's called, or fines.
There was
or-
the rumor that Rhode Island, you could have gotten a library card for $100 for the year or something. And that was doable to some people. But I sort of think it should hurt a little bit, Like it should be more than 25 and probably more than 100 if it's
Yeah,
if
yeah,
that's really a
that's very true.
consideration.
And
$30,000.
Exactly. Not that much, but if you really want to use the library, it's
Do you want to take any action, or can we move on? migraine person.
I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, it's getting so late. I was just like thinking, I don't know if we want to shelve it for another meeting though, or if we just want to say sorry.
Well, somebody can make a motion. It's easy to
Does
do.
anyone want to make a motion or just status quo? Status quo is no.
Status quo is.
We don't.
Yeah.
We could think about it for next meeting. I
Okay.
mean, it has potential if we need money, and, it's a way to do it.
Yeah, but I don't think we'll get.
I don't think we would get him any nibbles.
Unless it's an adjacent community, you're not,
It's an
Yeah.
option, but-
yeah.
It's a
Maybe
bit of
not
a
even-
drive from
Yeah.
Millville to here too, so,
Oh, yeah, I guess.
you know?
Yeah.
So on to Tix Keeper?
Yes.
I pulled us out of Tix Keeper, and we're actually not getting charged for the last year that we used Tix Keeper because the museum passes were kind of falling apart, and Tix Keeper was benefiting some libraries more than others. We were not one of the ones it was benefiting. Douglas is too far off the beaten path, everyone else agreed, and we're just in the wrong direction. Everyone's borrowing museum passes to go east, not west, so no one has a reason to come here to pick up a pass. And our patrons weren't really going anywhere else either. That Tix Keeper facilitated. If someone wanted a pass, they would just go get it without actually reserving it. The usability wasn't good. And on the topic of museum passes, I kind of just want to stop buying them altogether because we get some for free. We get Mystic Aquarium, Connecticut Science Center. The Mass State Parks Pass is the one that I think it's worth really circling. That's if you ever go to Purgatory or Wallem Lake, you come to the library
even know
first,
we had
get
that.
the Mass State Parks Pass, put it on your window, then you don't have to pay to park. We loan those.
You do?
I borrow them all the time. Because if no one else is borrowing it, then for the weekend I'm like, I could take this and I can park for free.
No, that's a service that, I don't know how much it gets used, but it seems to be a service that a lot of like mothers and stuff talk about. They're like, oh, you can just go get the museum pass, at the library. But if people, I don't know
The
if
thing is,
people
the
are using
museum
it.
pass industry has changed a lot in the last 5 years or so. Everybody I know who does museums just pays for an annual membership somewhere. Me and Carrie pay, well, actually, we don't pay. Like every year, my Christmas present is an Ecotarium membership pass.
That's a great
and
present.
my Ecotarium membership pass gets me in for free at the Ecotarium,
The
but
other
also
places.
at the Boston Science Center, at the Boston Children's Museum, at the Worcester Art Museum, at the Boeing Museum of Aerospace in Seattle. Like, no matter where I go in the country, there's a museum I can get in for free because we paid or my mom paid like $150.
Yeah.
And even if you're borrowing a library pass, we would pay like $350 to $400 for a museum pass that was only giving people $5 to $10 off.
Yeah, it's
so
like a
even if
discount,
they
too.
came to the library, borrowed the pass, took a family of 5 to the to the Mystic Aquarium, they would still be better off to buy an annual membership at the Mystic Aquarium and then just be able to go for free whenever
So
they want. The
I-
passes are not worth it anymore. The
I have two
discounts have
questions.
gotten
I
really
don't
crummy.
disagree. I just have 2 questions on it. One, it'd be good to get some idea of how many people are coming in for those.
Not
And then-
many. Like they circ like 6 times a year.
Wow.
Like
okay.
total.
Like total. We would literally be better off just handing the patrons cash to go to,
Or buy more books.
Mystic Aquarium than we would be to buy the pass to loan it to them.
If someone complains, just give them cash. Don't put that on Facebook.
Strike that from the record.
But I think the only thing that I might suggest if we do get rid of it is just to have some a talking point, when people come in looking for it and they're like, oh, you don't have the museum passes, and then just to explain.
I've explained. I explain to people all the time. It's like go get a membership pass.
Yeah.
Decide what kind of museum you like.
But you were explaining that. But what about a page or someone else, just so they?
I've explained it enough to my staff. They know
Okay.
too. This is
All
kind
right.
of a sore point.
Okay.
Is a soapbox. Get someone to give you, the money for a museum pass for a present, and then you've got, free access to Old Sturbridge Village for a year plus everywhere else.
Yeah, and you can go on Friday when you can get the pass too.
How much was it for a year for the museum passes through the Tix Keeper?
No.
Oh, the
Or
Tix
even
Keeper was just the platform that we used to let people reserve them.
All right.
And that was, I don't even remember how much it was, because the last time I
over
paid for it,
$300 or
it was over $300. The Friends paid for it.
Yeah.
and that was for a year. And I think we actually only paid for it once, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
And then after that, the Tick Keeper just didn't bill us for this past cycle. And whenever we talked to them about it, they said they weren't going to. So
Oh, that's a good business model. Okay.
so we got a year for free.
In one
A
of
year
your
of nothing.
monthly letters that you have the parking passes. Because it's not necessarily common knowledge that they can
Yeah,
pick
Yeah, it
up
was-
park free.
Last year, it was $318.75.
Just to make reservations.
Yeah, to be able to book it in
And
advance.
6 people used it, so that's quite a...
Wow.
Well, that's like per pass.
So I'm confused. So we got rid of Tick Keeper, I understand, but then are there passes there or
Yeah,
not?
the passes are still there.
Okay. And do you have to pay for that?
I'm haven't renewed anything that I have to pay for.
Yeah, the
So-
RI Zoological,
Yeah, we get,
Roger Williams Park.
Okay.
That's that. But do we get the botanical garden anymore, or was that not used enough?
it wasn't used enough. None of them were
We get
used
them from other
enough.
libraries, though? If they
Yeah.
have them, we can go get them from
Douglas
their
patrons
library.
can go to Whitensville, they can go to Uxbridge. And, that was another thing about the passes is like, what do we tell our patrons, Because we were preparing this brochure. It's like the Blackstone Valley Library Museum Pass program. Well, if I tell my patron they can borrow passes from your library, can they? Can they really? Or can they only borrow it if, one of your patrons doesn't have it on hold? How does this work? And all the libraries have different answers. Whitensville has a lot, and Uxbridge has a lot. They share. We still share with them. We're not going to use the reservation platform. So the museum passes are going to become more kind of a one first come first serve basis.
Okay.
And a lot of times they were getting reserved and not picked up. It's like you reserve a museum pass a month in advance to make sure you can have it, and then you're depriving someone else of not having it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Can't do everything.
No, I mean, the museum passes worked for a while. They were
Yeah.
good for a while, but the discounts were good for a while, and the discounts just got worse and worse. The
Yeah.
model for the museums has just moved to this annual membership. They don't want you to pay for a ticket. They want you to
Right.
pay to be a member. And that's kind of killed the cost effectiveness of the library museum pass program.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Everything's a subscription now.
Well, they were losing a lot of money, too. I mean, this was going on 10 years ago, and they would say, we're losing money on these library passes that we're
Yeah.
selling you, so we don't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
They had to go around, and for some reason, we're like the only library within, I don't know, like 100 miles that has a pass to the Salem Witch Museum.
We have it?
We have a pass to the Salem Witch
And
Museum.
who pays for that?
Nobody. It's free. They give it to me every year.
Oh, okay. Salem,
The Salem Witch Museum.
Never knew
that's a
that.
good one.
I think that they initially had the idea of we're going to try to do a library museum pass program, and so they sent out this thing, and then most of the libraries were like, no, we're not going to do that because it's so far away.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, it's free, sure, yeah, I'll do it. And I was expecting it to end up costing money, but they've continued to say, you have this for as long as you want it.
And you can
So-
even go in October.
So I think that the
You
discounts
can't go
get a
in
little different
Yeah.
for the on-season. They're weird,
Yeah.
and they just sent an email not long ago updating the discounts. But I don't know. Maybe there's a library museum discount program passed for the Salem Witch Museum, and we're the only ones in it because it didn't work. But they.
Maybe they think we're super witchy.
Those damn Douglas people with their
Okay, let's
passes.
move on.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna move us on to
Wait,
Library
am
of
I supposed to
Things.
be running this?
Post,
Library
by the
of
way,
Things.
With whatever.
And I want to
passes
table
we
that until
have.
later because I
Yeah.
spent all the money.
Need to send that
I don't want to talk about the Library of Things
All
right
right,
now.
no more library of Things.
Well, it just, it strikes me as something that would be better for the Friends to, it's not something, if you're running out of money for books or reading materials or whatever you want to call them, I don't see a need for all of this stuff, but it might be a good thing for the Friends to invest in. So you might want to put that in your little
In
report.
my wish list for
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Sewing machine.
and a sort of a total for it.
We got a really cool sewing machine, but it's not something I'm going to circulate because it's like almost 200 years old, I think. But Betsy Youngsma brought it in. It's like a hand crank.
Sounds like Betsy.
She
thing.
has a ton
So
of those,
it's
so.
It's upstairs now, so that's, the whole library of things is because we're kind of just starting to accumulate things.
But it sounds cooler.
This is a great idea.
be
Doing
stuff coming
metal
from the
detectors
historical
and soil testers, I mean, why not?
It's like things that you're going to use once a year.
Right.
Or maybe even once, just once.
Well, yeah, but you don't need to buy a dozen of them like we did the ukuleles.
No. No, I don't need to buy it.
Do you remember the ukuleles?
It looks so cool.
I just searched 2 of them today.
Classic.
2 ukuleles went out today.
All right, on to MPLC.
MPLC, I would like to re-enroll the library in the MPLC umbrella licensing program. That means that we can show movies at the library without having to. It's the license because you can't show public movies unless you have this license, and that's the license. It should be around $150 because that's what it was. Last time I bought it was $125. And it ended up being not worth it because setting up the projector and the sound system and all that in the basement took like 45 minutes of laying cable and duct taping it to the floor. But now we've got all that stuff hardwired in and it's plug and go, so we could totally rock movies in the library
So you
all the time.
While you're working. So you could take any, like the DVDs that you've got there. You could watch one of those because it covers like any
Pretty much. It covers
movie.
pretty much everything. It covers so much that it's really not even worth trying to investigate what it does cover because it's
Yeah.
like 99.999% of everything.
Okay.
I think that would be another thing that the Friends could pay for, too. So put that in your
Okie dokie.
list.
All right, never mind, y'all. It's all for the friends.
Excellent.
They're friendly.
Well, just, we got to remember to put it in our report when we ask for funds, that we paid for this, and give us publicity in your newsletter, which another person said to me the other day that they really enjoy reading your Douglas newsletter, whatever
I'm
it's called.
glad. It
Yeah,
makes me happy to hear that.
yeah, yes. I said, I'll tell him.
I used to. I don't know.
It always makes me
A
smile.
little irreverence goes a long way.
A little irreverence goes a long way.
Yes.
Like I used to just be able to sit and pound out these, like I'm going to write a paragraph as a letter from the director, and it's going to make people love the library. And
Now just
now,
say a couple funny
every
things
sentence
and-
I write, I'm scared. Is someone
Well,
going to
you know what
interpret
she
this
was-
the wrong way?
she was
Is
saying
this
to
going to end
me-
up on Facebook?
Right.
This person was saying, so the library has milkweed seeds. And I said, it does? Well, didn't you read it in the newsletter? And I said, no, I didn't, And she said, I love butterflies, and I've been looking for milkweed seeds. So where did you get these milkweed seeds?
They were donated by Jim Saviano. He gave us
Oh, yeah?
500 packets of milkweed seeds.
And do you still have a bunch?
We're running out, but we still have some.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, see, so that's what you're saying, like taking advantage of what comes your way. Here we go.
Yeah, that's good.
So I wrote it up in the newsletter. It was
in the paper.
It was in the paper. Come to the library, get milkweed seeds.
Good. And I didn't read any of that.
And you're the one who's always saying it's gotta be in the paper. I can't even get my staff to read my newsletters. So
I have 2 things first before, just some questions and stuff. First, with the landscaping up front, we possibly have a ton of lilac transplants.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Oh, well, we could do that for
A
you.
lot of transplants.
Okay.
Because I ended up talking to Joe about the landscaping up front, and I'm definitely going to take charge on that. My other question is, what is an appropriate time to use the power tools at the library for the hedge trimmers, and because I want to clean all
Friday.
that up? A Friday?
Yeah.
All right. Anytime on
Fridays,
Friday?
Saturdays, afternoons, Sundays. We're not open on Friday at all.
Oh, all right. So
Friday.
Friday's a good day.
Friday or Saturday. Awesome.
Well, Saturday afternoon,
Afternoon.
after 1. Yeah.
Well, Friday's a perfect day, so I'm gonna get in there. But yeah, if we want to get, I don't have a bunch of pots or anything, but if we could somehow get a bunch of pot, I can. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
lilacs
well,
can sell for a
what
ton of
size
money.
pots do you need?
Any. I mean,
What's the smallest you need?
like a gallon.
Okay, so big.
Yeah.
So
bigger.
how about if we have milk milk things, milk containers, gallon milk
I think
containers.
that I could manage. I mean, just to
I
get
have a bunch of
them.
1 gallon pots.
Yeah.
You do.
Um,
Oh, I know who has them. I have, I don't, I'll see
So
what I have.
we'll
I've
just
got
leave them
something
in the
and I have a
library
friend
if
who has a
they're,
bunch.
if they're,
Yeah. Yeah, if we
Yeah,
could leave
I'll
them
put some in.
somewhere that
So
just.
what-
Be happy to get rid of some.
Like, how many of these do we need? Like
Yeah, that's a good
I
question.
think.
50,
I mean,
1,000?
I saw. I mean, if we could get like at least 20.
20, if he puts it in the newsletter, you're gonna get 400 of them.
I mean,
Yeah.
it wouldn't hurt to have a bunch of pots around just because who knows what I'll find in there. I could split some sedums. I mean, there's quite a wondrous amount of plants in that, those 2
Yeah.
planting areas.
You know,
but
this
Yeah,
place
you
And you're just talking about like clay pots.
I'm willing to risk
right?
it. I'm
Yeah.
probably going to
I
get
think
five.
and don't
anything.
do anything
Play
with that
pot,
burning.
like anything you can put a
bush or
plant in?
whatever it is, because
like the
that's the one thing.
plastic.
Plastic
Cover it
or
up, but I won't-
clay
I
or,
won't pot any. I know it's
Syringe.
Fancy
illegal.
whiskey bottles?
So yeah, so I'll see what I can get out of there. The other thing is at the farm, our farm, we're gonna have a bonfire. Every year we have a massive, huge amount of wood from all the trimmings. But I'd like this to be a library fundraiser, and we can do it 2 ways. We can either do it Friday, May 24th, and have the rain date be Saturday, May 25th, starting at 7:30 at night. So kind of like right as sunset's happening, and then at nighttime, just huge fire, music, and I think this could be good. We already have people that are interested in going. We mentioned it to some people, and if Justin can put that out on the Facebook and
So that was what date again?
24th?
so
Friday?
do you ever,
It's not Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah, it is.
Memorial
It is.
Day weekend.
Oh,
But
it
that
is?
doesn't, it's not during our book sale, because
I
that's.
was thinking about parades and people
Yeah,
being
no,
away.
it wouldn't be
you say you had
near where
an
they are.
optional date too, Nick?
yeah, so should we do an optional date, like have it on Friday, but have a rain date just in case?
The
so we make
25th
sure.
for the rain date, that's
Yeah.
fine.
We're talking about, what, May?
All right, so
Just
May
May
24th will be the original date, starting at 7:30, and then our rain date would be Saturday, May 25th at 7:30, and it'll be $5 a person.
Wow.
And I'll go into the library, and maybe this would be a good idea that Justin can use this right away for any library needs. And maybe we can
Okay.
help this situation.
Bonfire.
But I think it'll be great. You know, it's always it's a huge, it's probably
You've got
bigger
some
than
great
this room.
signs now.
Yeah, like
Those are
signs.
very nice. Yeah, I
my
like
buddy
that.
Billy made those and put them up.
Yeah, now, I went down the pike today,
Yeah, they're
and I,
very
I
noticeable.
saw the one by the graveyard, but
Yeah.
then I said, oh, now I gotta remember to look for one that points up whatever street you're on,
Yeah.
which I missed.
Oh, yeah, the other signs are so small.
Small, I know.
We
so I
kept yelling at
didn't-
my dad. He's like, it's fine, they're fine.
Yeah,
So is it just gonna be like a fire, or are we gonna like,
Music.
Toast
music?
marshmallows?
Yeah, so I'm just going to put on, some music everyone likes. We can make it bigger. We can talk about it. We do a reading. It's up to you, but
can we throw books into the fire?
That's a
I've been trying
good
to
idea.
avoid book burning, but
A symbolic book burning?
All right.
but this could be the
Please,
base.
better roll
Call it
Anything-
Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Some of the books, even better rule books, can't do anything with. Like mold. Once mold gets on a book, it's
Yeah.
gone.
Maybe before or after the public leaves.
Yeah, put in the back of the fire. No one sees it.
Booze? Can we bring booze?
But it is, all of our farm events are, bring your own stuff, but, we expect everyone to be a responsible adult.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will escort people off the property otherwise, but because
Yeah.
we do all the concerts and stuff, I have to know how to do this.
Right.
But I think that'll be good, and maybe we'll get,
Yeah, that's
a little
great.
bit of money.
Try to escort me off
I
the
wish it wasn't
property.
that
Oh, I
day.
will.
Let the
That was
pigs
my
out.
job back then. But
Did I tell you that story?
No. I've
Okay,
been
never mind.
chased by a pig.
That's great.
cool.
I'm gonna ask you.
It is
when I
Douglas
come over.
after all.
No, don't.
Has everybody been chased by a
Okay,
pig?
anyway.
That's
Bonfire, May 24th, 7:30, May
That's a great idea.
25th at 7:30. If it rains,
Yep,
It's a
there'll be
very
a
Douglas
fire.
way to raise money.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. So we're at
Let's read it.
Yeah.
9, 12. Oh my goodness.
Oh, jeez.
Supposed to go home?
Turn it. Let's go home.
So is this 11, 9/11?
Sounds like 11 or feels like 11:09.
Yeah. Adjourned. Okay. It's a standing vote.
That part I remember.
Do you want to see these?
So the last
No.